I fixed my sleep schedule in 2 weeks, and in this video I'll tell you exactly how I did it and how you can do the same. And at the end of the video I'll even tell you the secret to getting perfect sleep every single night to maximize testosterone and muscle growth and every other aspect of life that sleep affects. When I was about 14, 15, I would come home from school and I would go straight on my PlayStation after getting undressed and getting into my pajamas. And I'd be on there literally until 2 a.m. I'd be on there for about 10 hours and then I'd get straight into bed at about 2 o'clock in the morning and just watch YouTube until I passed out. And I'd wake up so late for school the next day. And the weekends, it was even worse. I would genuinely be on there all day. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. I would stop to go to the toilet and to eat. And that's about it. Honestly, if that sounds familiar, then it sounds like this video is for you. But let's just get straight into it. The first secret is to get morning sunlight. Now, Andrew Huberman preaches this all the time, and it is so good for you. Like, literally, universally, everything. Morning sunlight is like the secret to like perfect health. What morning sunlight does is you have your circadian rhythm, which is like your sleep cycle. But within that, you have your temperature cycle, your light cycle, and those are really closely linked, and we'll get into that in a minute. But your light cycle is from the moment you see sunlight in the morning is when your cycle starts. So if you're sat in your bedroom and you've sat on your phone or PlayStation or whatever you're doing, say it's the weekend, you haven't really opened the curtains, your cycle hasn't even really kick-started yet. So you're just kind of in this weird limbo state where your body isn't being told by your brain to wake up. So you still feel groggy, you're still asleep. And when it comes to actually going to sleep that night, your body's a couple of hours behind, so you'll delay your sleep even more. And what seeing the sunlight does, even just like the best thing to do is to view sunlight 10, 15 minutes in the morning. If it's a foggy day, probably about 20. But if it's really sunny, about 10 minutes. Just sitting outside. What I normally do is I sit outside and read a book or go for a walk. What that does is that tells your brain that it's time to kickstart that cycle. And your energy levels will go up and up and up until it reaches about 2 to 4 p.m. if you do this at about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And then they'll slowly dip back down until about 10 p.m. when you should be going to sleep, 11, 12, whatever you decide your cycle should be. Another way that light plays into this is viewing blue light before bed. Now, viewing blue light before bed basically just undoes everything that we've just talked about, because you're seeing like artificial light. Because if you think about it, blue light, obviously the sun emits all spectrums of light. However, blue is really the colour that wakes you up. And that's why you can always use artificial lights in the morning. Like I've got these artificial lights here. If it's a really, really like cloudy day, I'll normally sit outside for 15, 20 minutes and then I'll come and I'll just sit in here and do some work on my computer with these like on max brightness so that it gets more effect. And having overhead lights increase this effect even more. So just sitting in front of a screen isn't gonna like wake you up more. It particularly has to be from above or like directly above. So seeing this blue light at night triggers your brain into thinking, oh, it's daytime, it's fine. Because your monkey brain isn't programmed for knowing, oh, I'm sat on my phone in bed. No, it's thinking, oh, there's light, yeah, no, it must be daytime then, it must be the sun out. So you're literally telling your brain, oh, it's daytime, and you stay awake. we can stay awake for this, it's fine. So not viewing blue light 2 to 3 hours before bed, just to stop that shit, bro. it just it just messes up your entire cycle. It also lowers dopamine for the next day. Obviously, dopamine is the hormone of drive. Most people call it the happy hormone. Bullshit. It's the hormone for drive. So it causes you to seek things, whether that be, you know, pleasures that aren't so good, like fapping and stuff, or whether it be your long term goals. Dopamine just increases the likelihood that you're going to chase your goals. So if you're viewing blue light, you're literally stunting yourself for the next day. Dopamine also incredibly affects testosterone. So you're just, making yourself more of a bitch the next day if you view blue light. Another thing to do with like kickstarting your heat and light is morning cold exposure. So I'm sure you've heard this. Everyone's preaching this nowadays. You have to take 20 minutes in a cold bath. Like, no. You just have to have that shock. If you've ever had any like form of cold exposure, as soon as you get into that cold water, you have that breathing that literally spikes your adrenaline. And so what you're doing with this temperature clock, remember I said the light and the temperature clock are really linked. Your temperature clock looks something like this. Like dusty, trusty whiteboard out. So if you don't, hold on, let me just draw this out a sec. It's pretty good. So this is you when you don't do cold exposure. You have a very slow rise in the morning, and then it just drops slowly and slowly, which looks alright. You just have a bit of you have that hour or two where you're still waking up. Whereas when you do cold exposure, you instantly lower your body temperature to like an amount where your body is like, crap, we really need to raise our body temperature. And so your energy levels last throughout the day, and then they go down a little bit quicker at the night, which is what we want. Say this is the full 24-hour cycle, you probably have like 5 hours in between here and there. You're not actually getting that much sleep. And so this actually, your energy levels peak normally, they should peak. This would be about 2 o'clock. So your energy levels will rise until about 2 o'clock, and then they should go down. Whereas if you don't have your cold exposure, your energy levels will go up and up slowly, 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 probably until about 4 to 5 p.m. So you're basically taking this and just setting it back more so that you're more awake for the first half of the day. And the second half of the day, you can relax a little bit more. If that makes sense. I'm not sure if you're basically, I'm gonna explain this a bit better. Like, you're just taking all this really prolonged peak, and you're basically just giving yourself it earlier in the day, so that when it's time to go to bed, your body knows that it's actually time to bed, and you'll get tired earlier. And speaking of getting tired earlier, exercise is, I can't talk about getting good sleep without literally talking about burning the fuel in your body. So exercise, whether it be strength training, resistance, cardio, it doesn't matter what type of exercise you do. If you just do half an hour to an hour of exercise every day, then you're taking the calories that you wouldn't have burned and you'll store as fat, and you're just having less of them. So that when it comes to go to sleep, your body isn't going into that fat storing process, because it hasn't got those calories to burn. And not burn, it hasn't got those calories to store. So you have less energy at the end of the day, and more energy at the start if you do your exercise, let's say early on. So you just have overall less energy when it comes to bed. And exercise obviously has like infinite benefits. I can't get into that right now. But for sleep, it also increases the longevity of your sleep, so how long you'll sleep for, the quality of your sleep, how quickly you'll get into REM sleep. All this great stuff, all the technical crap. Basically, just push some weights, do some running, easy. So, back to temperature. The reason that cold exposure, it has like an adverse effect. When your body gets really, really, really cold, it heats up. So imagine like an engine. If the engine is like really, really, really cold, it isn't going to function properly. But if you warm that engine up, it can function a lot better. And so your body, that's what that graph was like. That line going up? That was your body warming up throughout the day. When it reaches its peak, that's when it's like burning fuel, You got all this drive, all this energy. This is why some people have like this random energy spike throughout the day. That's when your energy is at its highest. You're, burning the most fuel. You're raring to go. Whereas if you have your cold exposure, your body reaches that point quicker, because when you have cold on the outside, your body has to increase your internal temperature. So you get that spike a lot earlier in the day. So what about the opposite side? Going to bed. Well, that's where we introduce heat exposure. And some people disagree with this because they say, oh, you shouldn't be heating up your testes. It reduces testosterone, reduces sperm. But you're also going to have reduced sperm if you can't sleep. So, heat exposure is extremely effective when done at night, because obviously it does the opposite of cold exposure. Your body naturally cools down on that little down on the graph, on that downward slope. That's your body cooling down. So when you're going through the heat on the outside, your body is obviously cooling down on the inside. You don't want to do this too hot. You don't want to go ridiculous heats, but a nice warm bath before bed. This is what I normally do. Grab a book, just sit in the bath for 15, 20 minutes, nothing stupidly long. You don't want to go too short either, but 10 to 15, 20 minutes, perfect. And you just do that an hour or two before bed. You go on your phone for the last time before bed, before this bath, and then you just don't go on your phone again, and you don't go on any screens. You go and sit in the bath for 15, 20 minutes. Your body will start to go into that cooling down sleep cycle. And your body will reach its coldest at about 2 o'clock in the morning. If you notice, that's the opposite of when it reaches its hottest at 2 in the afternoon. So you have a full 24-hour cycle there. Anyway, you don't want to do any really high intensity activity before bed, because this will raise your internal body temperature. Now I know when you clicked on this video, you wouldn't be thinking I'd be talking about temperature and light and shit. We'll get onto the normal stuff in a minute. Just thought we'd get this technical shit out of the way. But doing high intensity exercise, like lifting weights, spikes adrenaline, and adrenaline, increases cortisol, stress hormone, and you don't want to be feeling that spike of stress before bed. You don't want to be feeling really rejuvenated and energized before bed, because then your body will find it harder to go to sleep. And this does obviously most of the time you're doing exercise, you have lights on, you have really bright lights in the gym for better photography or some shit, I don't know. You have the bright lights, you have the heat from sweating and from working hard. So it's better to do your exercise earlier on in the morning, because you're getting the benefits of both of those things. Whereas if you did it at 8, 9 o'clock, an hour or two before you go to bed, you're just going to end up stagnating all of the work that you've done and prolonging how long it's going to take to fall asleep. So although exercise is good, it is dependent on when you do it, because it could be a hindrance if you do it later on at night. Like people who go to those 24-hour gyms at fucking 3 o'clock in the morning, like, bro, just go to sleep. But you want to do like really low intensity stuff. Like I said, reading in the bath, journaling, literally any other shit. Just no screens and no high intensity activities. Now, let's talk about caffeine. Everyone's favorite drug that they're addicted to. You really don't want to be ingesting any caffeine at all, probably before 8 hours before bed. That's what all the like science people say online, so I'll just fucking stick to what I know. So I've tested this out. Obviously, 12 hours is like ridiculous, but 8 hours seems to be the sweet spot that everyone agrees on. 8 hours before bed is like, it's quite a while, isn't it? Let's say you're going to bed at 10, you don't want to intake any caffeine past 2 p.m. But if you think about it, if you do everything right in the morning, have your light exposure, your cold exposure, you do your exercise, you wouldn't need that caffeine at 2 p.m. Like, you really wouldn't need that. But caffeine has a half-life of about 5 hours, which means if you intake 100 milligrams of caffeine at, let's say, 10 a.m., that means, oh, that's a really fucking booky time, hold on. If you intake 100 milligrams of caffeine at 7 a.m., that means at 12 p.m., there's still going to be 50 milligrams of caffeine in your system. So that's how long it takes for it to have half the life. Little chemistry lesson, yeah. So if you're having like these pre-workout drinks, fuck, they have like 250 milligrams of caffeine. Let's say you're having that at like 10 a.m. You're still like 10 hours later gonna have 125 milligrams of caffeine in your system. You may not be feeling all the energy from it because you would have had your crash, but that's still stopping the adenosine binding to the adenosine receptors. Adenosine is the chemical that triggers your brain to like be tired. I don't know. And basically what you're doing is these caffeine cells, they stop the adenosine binding to the adenosine receptors. So half of the caffeine that you've already had is still stopping the adenosine binding to these receptors. So it'll still be a lot harder to go to sleep. So you really want to watch how much caffeine you're intaking, number one. And number two, when you're intaking that caffeine. You really don't want to be having more than like 100, 200 milligrams a day. Because if you do, you'll still be carrying that over until the next day. And that's like fucked. Like if you intook 500 milligrams of caffeine, it'd still be in you for the next day, day and a half. That's crazy to think about. That like that energy drink you had is still in you a day and a half later. It's still affecting your mental state because it's keeping you wired. Even though you don't feel it actively, it's still like hindering your mental performance. Anyway, no caffeine, 8 hours before bed. Easy rule, just say you're going to bed 11 o'clock at night, just 3 p.m. That's the cutoff point. No caffeine. You find this in like tea leaves. That's like the one that, tea is somewhat, some people drink that before bed and shit. And it's like, how do you not know that tea has caffeine in it? That's a big one in the UK, fucking tea drinkers. Oh, have some tea. Fucking, like, no tea, no coffee, none of that shit. No pre workout, no energy drinks. 3 p.m., 2 p.m., wherever you want to go to bed. 8 hours later, it's the cutoff point. Now, I want to talk about meditation. And I know fucking everyone talks about meditation, oh, what's he gonna say? Fucking, oh, meditate for 2 hours a day. Like, what I've got is I've got this app, everyone uses it. It's Medito. On there, they have sessions for falling asleep. And I've tried the story ones, they're quite good. But just listening to someone with quite a soothing voice, giving you instructions on like breathing for falling, because there is breathing for falling asleep, you know. There's a little process, I don't know what it's called, but if you inhale for longer than you exhale, you'll increase your heart rate. Like if you go, that increases your heart rate. Whereas if you exhale for longer than you inhale, it'll slow down your heart rate. And obviously, when you're going to sleep, you don't want to be going fucking bum 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 bum. You want to slow down. You want to relax. You want to calm down. And so, if you listen to one of these little meditation sessions, I find the one I used to listen to because I don't really use this as much now, but they are quite useful for it. Let's quickly find it because this is really easy to do, and you know everyone uses this fucking app. You've probably got it, to be honest. Oh, where is it? There it is. Winding down for sleep. Where is it? Okay, what the fuck am I doing? Yeah, that bottom one by there. Winding down for sleep. That's what you want to use if you want to try this. And you just put it on. And honestly, I've never gotten to the end of that session. Not once. With doing all, like, most of this stuff, I've never gotten to the end of that session. That's how powerful this is. 13 minutes, and I've been gone every time I've listened to it. It's like, honestly, you're probably sat there like, oh, what the fuck's going on? Shut up, bro. Just tell me how much fucking ashwagandha and magnesium I need to take, bro. Shut the fuck up. Like, genuinely, you try this, Medito, Medito, and try that winding down for sleep, and I promise you, you won't get to the end of it if you've listened to all the advice in this video. Swear, bro. Anyway, now we've talked about all the habitual stuff you need to do. Let's finally talk about everyone's favorite supplements. Yay. Now, I am a firm believer that you need to change your habits and your environment before you change like what you take, you know, before you go to like a medicinal like solution. But there are a few supplements that I do take that increase my ability to sleep. I'm gonna shut my phone back on airplane mode a sec, bro. Can't be having no fucking disruptions. Come on, I just had to go off. Ew. Fuck this. Right. No, fucking, you know what? I'm fucking busy doing work. Chuck that over there. Right. The first thing is ashwagandha. And this just relaxes you, chills you out, and it's, you know, completely natural, all that shit. But it also increases the deepness that you get within sleep. In my experience now, this is all like personal experience and shit. I don't fucking believe that science shit. Like, as much as I like talk about science, I think that every substance reacts differently within your own body. So, you know, from my own experience, I find that ashwagandha increases the deepness of my sleep, how long I sleep, how awake I feel after I've slept. You know, when you wake up and you're just like fucking monged out on the top of your bed, you know, you still feel like going back to bed. When I wake up after, you know, taking one of these, I don't know how much is in there. You know, it's just my protein one. I don't fucking know. You know, I actually feel like I've had a good night's sleep, proper awake and rejuvenated. But it also has this weird side effect for me. I don't know, just a little off on a tangent. It also makes me dream a lot. Like every time I take it, I have some mad vivid dream that I remember the next day, and I'm like, what the fuck happened there? So there's that. If you want to dream more, take ashwagandha. Another thing is this little beauty, which I don't need. There we go. This one right here. It's got magnesium, L-threonate is the specific strain you want to go for. It's L-threonate, L-theanine, and apigenin. Now, all three of these, that's why I've got like this little triple sleep one, because these, you can pick this up like anywhere, just type it on Amazon, like L-threonate, triple sleep or whatever. And these three together, they're like a knockout drug. Oh my God, honestly. Take these an hour before bed, I normally do, and I'm just gone. That's why I don't really use the meditation anymore. I just don't really need to be honest. I just lie down and I'm just passed out. Honestly, this stuff combined with exercise early, cold exposure, heat exposure, all that shit. That, the ashwagandha, and definitely not taking any caffeine, that'll set you up right there for like the best night of sleep you'll ever have. And honestly, the last thing I can say is fucking everyone preaches it. It's just being consistent. And don't like fucking click away now or whatever. If you've got to this point already, you know, you've got the attention span of a top fucking 1%. I know I started off pretty dull at the start of this video, but we got there. It's the first video I've recorded in a while. I forgot like new setup and shit. I got an actual nice mic. I wonder if I can lift it up. No, I can't. Hello. Yeah, actually got like a nice mic now. The actual proper lights. I got a full black setup behind me. We're getting there. But yeah, just being consistent and not like, oh, can't be asked to have a cold shower today, you know, like, oh, I just can't be bothered having a bath, you know, I'll just go on my phone, it's fine, it's fine. Like, sticking to these things is not going to be easy, but just try it for 3 days. Just 3 days, have a cold shower in the morning as soon as you wake up. Try and wake up about between 5 and 8. Just have a cold shower in the morning. That's it. View sunlight and exercise. That's all you need to do in the morning. Just those 3 things. Then when it comes to bed, just have a warm shower or bath for literally 15-20 minutes. You know, you can wash in the cold shower or the warm bath, whatever you want. I normally do it in the cold shower, so I stay in there for a bit longer. And then I just, you know, have a little rinse off before bed in the bath. Just don't view your screens at night for 2 hours before bed, and then no caffeine. Just try that for 3 days. Those little like 8 steps, 8 simple steps to never have shit sleep. And then there's like, you know, the question that everyone always asks, so how long should I sleep for? And that is completely subjective. Your body is completely different to mine, depending how much physical work you do every day, what you do, like how, oh, there's fucking fireworks going off. Shit. Yeah, depending what you do in your day, depends how much sleep you need. But not even that, it's just every person is different. You might need 7 hours of sleep. I might need 8, you know. My girlfriend might need 9, who knows? But it is strange that women do actually need more sleep than men statistically. Don't know what the statistics are. Fucking find that shit. I don't know. Don't care. In my experience, women need more sleep than men, which is great for us, you know what I mean? We get some free advantage, like, you know, fucking awake for 1 hour a day more, that's easy time, bro. So, just finding out what works for you, trying to shift your waking up time an hour before, an hour after, half an hour, either way, just trying to figure out how much you need. Because if you're waking up too tired, you probably need half an hour more, or you need half an hour less, because oversleeping is also another reason you might be feeling tired when you wake up. I found that I need about 7.5 within that range. And then, you know, there's obviously other stuff we couldn't get into in this video. Well, we can, but like sleep cycles and shit. But I'm not being funny. If you aren't doing any of this stuff, then sleep cycles are not going to help you. But a sleep cycle normally takes about an hour and a half. So, you know, 1.5 hours to 3 hours, 3 to 4.5, 4.5 to 6, 6 to 7.5. So I'm normally out of my sleep cycle 7.5 hours. That's normally when I get up. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. If you're struggling with sleep, then you're also probably struggling with getting away from sodial. Bro, honestly, I need to get to sleep. If you're struggling with sleep, then you're probably also struggling with overusing social media, the exact same as I was when I was in your situation. And I've just made a video exactly about that. click subscribe right now. I'm gonna go and fucking take these and go off to bed. have a have a hard day and a great week.